Hey guys, Kurgan here, and I wanted to make a video showing how the Mage DPS specs compare to each other. So I did some 10-minute passes, and you can see here on the screen the results. So if you can't recognize the specs from the ability breakdowns, I'll go through them. So this one on the left is 54 harp with 77.5k. Here on the left middle is 61 harp, so 76.48k. Necro harp is next on the right middle at 76.25k, and Pyromancer is the last one on the right at 69.15k. Now you might notice that it's a 6-minute pass compared to the other ones of around 10 minutes, and this is just because you run out of mana, and even though I was using mana pots, I could only use 2 before I ran out of mana, and once you ran out of mana, that's kind of the end. And I didn't have anyone to come and give me living energy, so I just had to make do with 6 minutes. So with this information, you might think to yourself, well, it's pretty clear cut which spec is better than the others, and that's 54 harp. This isn't really true because obviously in raids we have raid cooldowns, and such as Lava Field from the Archon, Wild Growth from our Chloromancer, and this makes some specs do relatively more damage than others when you move them into a raid setting. And one of these specs is 61 harp because of Imperium Ascension. This will allow it to do more damage during the raid cooldowns, and that really gives it a larger boost than 54 harp would have. And this really closes the gap in terms of the difference that we see. And in a raid setting, it's very hard to call which one is better, but they are definitely pretty close, and it really comes down to personal preference on like pure single target burns. However, there are some situations where 54 harp is always better, like fights which you have to cleave. For fights which have mechanics which increase like damage taken or your own damage done, which can be used with raid cooldowns, 61 harp is the king for that. So we have fights like Sikaron as the obvious one. You'll see every mage playing 61 harp because it just does a lot better and scales better with the buffs. Now you might be thinking, well, Necro harp, it's pretty decent damage compared to others. The problem with Necro harp is that it scales a bit with raid cooldowns, but unfortunately you lose a huge amount of utility. You have bad target swapping, you have a pet. It's really a spec which has a huge amount of limitations, and really it's only a for fun spec. Even if it does pretty good damage, like if you're thinking just purely on advantages and disadvantages, there's no reason to choose it over 54 harp or 61 harp. And then we have Pyromancer. As you can see here, it's quite a large margin behind the other specs. This does actually scale with raid cooldowns better than any of the other specs. However, that still, even with that much larger scaling, it's still a large margin behind the other harp specs. So you really should only be playing 61 Pyromancer if you have a reason to be ranged, or you have something that Pyromancer is very good for, like target swapping. Okay, so that pretty much sums up my quick comparison between the Mage DPS specs. I hope this answers most of the questions you had about how they match up to each other. If you have any more questions, just put them in the comments below.